Marvel Rivals is just absolutely depressing. Okay. And bro, of course it is. I mean, I could have told you that, bro. NetEase, a Chinese company. We don't even have to look at their past. And then every single team that we get is just the worst piece of garbage. I don't. Come with me. So the garage and the treadmill quality was even rougher than I anticipated. So now you have me, editor Atrain. Please try to enjoy each fact equal. Okay. Marvel Rivals. The biggest pain in the ass of all time. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not even like I don't love it. Because part of me does. Because I can absolutely see that it's everything I wanted Overwatch to be and more. The issue, it happened too late. We needed it sooner. I needed it sooner. That's why it's depressing. I don't know how I'm meant to go through that Overwatch cycle that I've already experienced before. It's a lot. It's a lot to think back on, because when I think of my biggest regrets, I always think of Overwatch and how much time I put into that game without actually being any decent at it. And I feel like Marvel Rivals just brings back that experience and that feeling of just being terrible at a video game that you put so much time into. Granted, I feel I'm much more confident at Marvel Rivals than I was in Overwatch, but you know, how many hours did that shit take? And do I want to put that much time into this given where I am? But there's two other compounding issues that make the grind and the hunger very iffy. But credit where credit is due, because they absolutely did nail that feeling and captured so much of that magic, or what people loved about Overwatch, right? So when you get on this game, it really does feel a lot more like Overwatch than I guess even current Overwatch. But unfortunately, there's just the optimization is not there. The servers are super duper rough, especially in that initial season, right? And I guess frame rates, they could definitely be better, and I think they are getting better with time and with a few patches, but it's still a little off, right? It doesn't feel like it should be this hard to run, I guess, this game. High ping is a pain in the ass too. Just like no matter which server you go on, like I live in Florida, right? So it's kind of like when League of Legends first came out, there wasn't really a great server for Floridians. That's kind of what it feels like for Marvel Rivals. I get like 80 ping at best, right? Which is a little annoying, but it's manageable. The biggest issue is the matchmaking is just very odd to me, right? And there's actually, I'm glad I'm not the only one anymore, right? But there's this theory that it's engagement-based matchmaking, right? But for me, this matchmaking system is like the worst thing I've ever experienced in any video game, from League of Legends to TFT to Counter-Strike or Valorant or Deadlock most recently for me, and even Overwatch itself, and then also even other fighting games. It doesn't make any sense. And looking at the engagement-based matchmaking idea theory, it makes so much more sense, right? Because it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like I should be having the same experiences as these great players at my skill rank, and vice versa. So many players that play a ton all have these like terrible win streaks and these terrible win droughts. And it's just like, why is that experience so consistent? Are they doing something with the matchmaking? I don't know. I'm not saying nothing, but it's really odd. It does give me a chance and a moment to adjust my perspective on ranked matchmaking, but it also feels a little anticlimactic whenever I do get big win streaks or big loss streaks, or if I am actually improving, and you know, whether or not it's really me that's making the improvement. So it essentially remedies the problem I had initially with Overwatch, if this is like a real matchmaking quirk of this game, where your time invested is almost always rewarded, which it is regardless of if this matchmaking quirk does exist in the game. And it's all because of this thing called the Chrono Shield, which is, hey, came in clutch with the help of your boy, right? You know what I'm saying? So then it starts to make sense why it feels like you have absolutely terrible players on your team or on the enemy team so frequently, and it is because the game truly does reward time over effort and skill. It starts to make a lot more sense because of something like the Chrono Shield. So let's say, hypothetically, you can skirt by all the way to Diamond with like a 33% win rate as long as you play enough. This is just in theory. I'm assuming you'd get less games the worse your win rate is, but the fact that this is theoretically possible is still pretty crazy, right? But the example is you lose 15, but you gain 30 on every win. Let's say you had a great game and you won 33 points, right? Boom, big LP gain. And then you lose your next 2 games, right? And it only takes away like 15. And then you lose another game, but it doesn't matter because the last 2 games you just lost all counted toward your Chrono Shield, and your Chrono Shield blocks your LP losses. So now you are actually on a 3-game loss streak, right? But you're still up in LP because of how much you gain from when you win and how little you lose when you do lose. And then the Chrono Shield is also there to buffer your gains. So you're at like 3 LP up, even though you lost 3 games and only won 1, which is just insane. It acted as a pretty big demotivating factor for me playing the game, but now it kind of gives me a perspective shift, and it enables me to play more in the way that I want to play, which is just whatever happens, right? Because no matter what, since I'm playing the game, I'm going to win, right? Like I'm going to gain LP, right? Which is what I would have loved from Overwatch, right? But now that I guess I do care about skill and I guess being a better player and improving, it's really hard to see that, and you don't really get that from this system, unfortunately, until you get to the way higher ranks, which has its own problems in its own right. And even though it's completely feasible, it's definitely not ideal for the individual competitive player. The silver lining is, if you are actually just the worst players in the world and you queue together, RDC World are just the greatest example of this. They went on insane loss streaks and they were in a 4-stack together. They might be the foil against the engagement-based matchmaking systems, but they're at the lowest rank in the game. You just can't get worse players than whoever's already there if they're just losing. Yep. Maybe next time. Here, just... Who cares? Who cares? I do.